This is me with a piece of ice that came from a real glacier. But how is this glacial ice any different from other ice? Let's find out. A glacier is a huge mass of dense ice that is constantly moving under its own weight. It moves so slowly that even if you were standing right next to it, you probably wouldn't even notice. Glaciers begin forming in places where more snow piles up each year than melts. As time passes, the snow begins to compress under pressure from its own weight. Eventually, the snow becomes packed so tightly together that it becomes a dense, grainy ice called firn. And when the ice grows thick enough, about 50 meters, firn grains fuse into a huge mass of solid ice. And since ice is a soft material which can be easily deformed by the pressure of its own weight, the glacier begins to move. Movement at the top of the glacier is faster than along the underside due to the friction with the underlying ground surface. The glacier is so heavy and exerts so much pressure that the ice and snow melt without any increase in temperature. The meltwater makes the bottom of the heavy glacier slicker and more able to spread across the landscape by reducing friction. When glacier ice is white, that usually means that there are many tiny air bubbles still in the ice. Years of compression under pressure from its own weight gradually make the ice denser over time, forcing out the tiny air pockets between crystals. When glacial ice becomes very dense and free of bubbles, it often appears blue, because the ice absorbs light at the red end of the visible spectrum, so that the remaining light is composed of the shorter wavelengths of blue and violet. Older sections of glacial ice are even denser and appear even darker in color. Speaking of age, glacial ice can be hundreds of thousands of years old, which makes it a valuable resource for assessing climate change. The Antarctic ice sheet is estimated by scientists to be at least 30 million years old, while the Greenland ice sheet is a relative newcomer at only 2.5 million years old. And by extracting and analyzing the ice, we can learn about what the climate was like even before the first civilizations. Back to the topic, there is also a size requirement for glaciers. Proper glaciers must be a minimum of 0.1 square kilometers. Below this size, ice is generally stagnant and does not have enough mass to move. Sometimes, pieces of glaciers can break off into the ocean. We call them icebergs. Global warming plays a significant role in the formation of icebergs. The number of icebergs in the oceans and seas of the world increases with increasing temperature. And if all the glacier ice on the planet were to melt, worldwide sea levels would rise by 80 meters. Trying to reduce the speed of melting in glaciers is important to the planet as a whole and is being actively pursued by scientists across the globe. Glacier ice is also our largest reservoir of fresh water, storing an estimated 69% of the world's supply. At the peak of the latest ice age, glaciers covered one-third of the Earth's surface. Today, however, only 10% of land area on Earth is covered with glacial ice, 99% of which is concentrated in two ice sheets of Greenland and Antarctica. Another 200,000 glaciers are scattered around the world and can be found in 47 countries and nearly on every continent. Speaking of which, due to the changes that occurred after the last ice age, there are now no glaciers anywhere on the Australian continent. However, the South Island of New Zealand is home to the Fox Glacier, which is one of the most accessible glaciers in the world, with the terminal face as low as 300 meters above sea level. Right next to the Fox Glacier flows the largest glacier of New Zealand. At 23.5 kilometers in length, Tasman Glacier is still New Zealand's longest glacier. Moving to Africa, the only remaining glaciers exist in Mount Kenya, Rwenzori, and Mount Kilimanjaro, with the northern ice field being the largest body of ice remaining. In Asia, glaciers can be found on the territories of Indonesia, Japan, Russia, Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, as well as in the Tibet area and Himalayas, which contain the third largest deposit of ice and snow in the world, with about 15,000 glaciers. With 7,253 known glaciers, Pakistan contains more glacial ice than any other country on Earth outside the polar regions. The Kutia Glacier in Pakistan holds the record for the fastest glacial surge. In 1953, it raced more than 12 kilometers in 3 months, averaging about 112 meters per day. 200 kilometers from the border of Pakistan in the Pamir Mountains of Tajikistan lies the Fetchenko Glacier, which is the longest glacier outside polar regions that stretches to a length of 77 kilometers. The majority of Europe's glaciers can be found in the Alps, Caucasus, Scandinavian mountains, and Iceland. Norway alone has more than 2,500 glaciers, with the Jostedalsbreen Glacier being the largest glacier in the continental Europe. But the largest glacier in the entire Europe is Severn Island ice cap that is located on the northern island of the Novaya Zemlya archipelago in Russia. In South America, glaciers develop exclusively in the Andes. Chile boasts a fairly sizable collection of glaciers, being home to over 80% of all those located in South America. Chile is also a home to remnants of the Patagonian ice sheet. At its peak, the Patagonian ice sheet covered about 480,000 square kilometers of land, about 4% of which remains glaciated today into separated remnants known as the northern and southern Patagonian ice fields. In North America, Mexico is home for about 2,000 glaciers, all of which are located on Pico de Orizaba, Popocatépetl, and Iztaccíhuatl, the three tallest mountains in the country. Most glaciers in the US are located in the Pacific Coast Ranges and Alaska. Alaska is estimated to have more than 100,000 glaciers. With extensive glacial coverage in the Arctic and the West, Canada is home to a significant percentage of the world's glaciers. The largest glacier in North America is the Greenland ice sheet, which is a vast body of ice covering almost 80% of the surface of Greenland. And finally, Antarctica. Antarctica houses many glaciers, as well as the Lombard Glacier, the largest glacier on Earth, which is 100 kilometers wide, 400 kilometers long, and 2.5 kilometers deep. It is also a place where many icebergs start their journey, including iceberg B-15, which, before breaking up, was the world's largest recorded iceberg with a surface area of 11,000 square kilometers. Hey, you're still there! I have prepared one more bonus fact for you. But before moving on, I just wanted to say thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to smash the like button. Videos like that take quite a bit of effort, and your support really helps a lot. And now, to the bonus fact. The polar ice caps of Mars show geologic evidence of glacial deposits. The South Polar Cap is especially comparable to glaciers on Earth, but that might be a topic for another video.